Okay, today on the workbench we've got the Flying Astro Boy, which was made by Bandai in Japan around 1965 thereabouts. It's as you can see, it's on a string. You can drive and then it'll twist here so you can go forward or backward. Light in the head, flashing taillights, and the rocket feet. Operated by 3 D cells in this long metal tube and this wire which comes out the bottom. Being as old as it is, this wire is very brittle, so I'm not going to unbundle it or try to move it, because all it's going to do is crack and break, and then it's going to have to be replaced, which isn't why it was sent to me. The owner of this only had the top part of the remote, which has a center off position. When you move it one way, he'll fly forward facing this way, and if you turn it the other way, the whole Astro Boy rotate around and then go back the other way that he came. And this whole top fits onto this large metal cylinder, which is full of 3 D cells for power. Now, he didn't have this part with the toy, he just had the toy and this part. And so he had to find a vintage tube type, very similar remote. Here was the cap on this green one, you can see. The original switch guts inside of this thing, which are right here in my hand, were pretty much eaten away, and the tabs were broken where it wasn't going to stay together. Just obviously the batteries had leaked and it pretty much chewed everything up. Now this particular one had a solid contact here in the top, so that meant the metal tube part that originally went with that would have been blue. Probably had one of those coiled springs like you'd see in any old D-cell flashlight down on the bottom, because it's got to be spring-loaded one end or the other. And the switch contacts that I took out of this green donor one was different. It has the spring contact built into the lid, and the batteries in this case face positive going down to end up on that little metal bump. And then of course that's supposed to make a contact, because there's 3 little tabs here to the metal here, and then this metal, when it comes up, is supposed to make a contact on the inside of this ring. And then this ring's supposed to transfer the power through these 2 tabs, which are these 2 tabs right here. You can see this wire, and then it finally brings that power down to the switch. The center one has its own red wire to this part of the switch. So this is what makes the forward reversing action of the motor to give all the functions. So they're relying on a whole lot of things making contact that through the years, when they corrode or rust, or especially in the case of when you had battery leakage damage, no longer work. So let's get this on here and see if we can persuade this guy to come to life. There he is going that way. Now if I move the switch this way, you can see he rotates around. We'll fly back that way. And you can also see the flashing light in the face. And you may or may not see the flashing light. I've got to try to hold this cap on while we're talking. Let's take it off. So there you can see there's a flashing light in the tail, flashing light in there. So I've got to hold this down. Originally, I believe these indent creases here, which are clean to make contact, and then there's slight bumps here. They don't quite line up with this donor one, right? Because I think originally that would have gone in. You would twist. You can see how they kind of angle down. It would supposedly get tighter and tighter, and it would twist and lock on. But these days, you're going to have to hold it down by hand. And the contacts on this, if you move it all the way over, the switch doesn't make a contact. So you got to be careful. Go about that far, and then this one, you can see how that turns around. So a little bit finicky based on its age and based on the parts that we're having to use to get it to work. But the other problem that the toy had was whoever owned this before the guy that sent it to me for repair had disassembled the robot before. It's been apart. And when they reassembled it, they put this part on backwards. So imagine this side of this wheel being on this side over here instead of being on this side. So what that meant was no matter which way you moved the switch, this would always end up going backwards. You would fly backwards. You would never move forwards. Even if this thing rotated around like that, or like that if you will, it would still go backwards and not forwards. So had to dismantle all of this, which is this front part and the side parts, just to get down to this bottom plate, to flip this metal bottom plate around 90 degrees and then reassemble all of that to get that back in the correct position. So there you have it. A very old, however long ago 1965 is now from 2026. It's a long time. Operating Flying Astro Boy tin toy, battery operated, made by Bandai in Japan, 1965.